Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Grad Slam 101. This is an informational workshop on all things Grad Slam, to be followed by Grad Slam 201 and 301. My name is Dr. Fowler. I serve as the Associate Dean of Graduate and Undergraduate Studies here at CSUB. What is Grad Slam? If you're not familiar, it essentially is a 3-minute thesis. So think an elevator speech to showcase your graduate or doctoral research through a short TED Talk style presentation. The only difference is in the past, we've done these face-to-face, and more recent years, we've been doing them via Zoom. I will share that our Grad Slam here on campus at CSUB this year will be via Zoom. The CSU 23 campus-wide Grad Slam will be via Zoom, and the WAGs, they actually call it 3-minute thesis competition, will be via Zoom this year. So that's the only difference from being a TED Talk style, but the rest of it is a concise elevator speech of either your master's or doctoral research. One of the key things of the Grad Slam is using language that your peers and non-specialists, think judges, understand. So how would you, again, in an elevator, tell folks who have no idea about your discipline or your research area in terms that they understand what it is about? So that's a big part of it. Notably, you're not allowed to have props. So you can't have a costume, you can't have laboratory equipment, things like that. None of that's permitted. And the presentations are spoken word. So they're not poems, they're not raps, they're not songs like some of these other competitions that you may be aware of. Students who participate will learn how to articulate their research concisely and effectively, hone their communication and presentation skills, and explain their research and its potential impact to an audience that typically is outside of their disciplinary field. And again, you do all of that in under 3 minutes. Here's a short video I want to share before we get into more information about the Grad Slam.
We're good.
Yeah, so
Hold on. Grad Slam is a competition, a 3-minute speech. Can I start over? Of course.
Oof. I would say Grad Slam is bae.
I don't really know how to describe it.
Grad Slam is the cliff notes of your entire thesis.
Grad Slam is an opportunity for students all around campus to share their research with other students, other faculty, and even external members to the UCSB community who they wouldn't otherwise get a chance to share their research with.
Grad Slam is a speech competition where graduate students condense their graduate work in 3 minutes and share it with a general audience.
So you have to take everything you're doing for the entire time you're a grad student here on campus and put it in a 3-minute talk that everybody can understand.
The prize money is obviously a nice reward for the time that you spend.
Grad Slam to me is more of the elevator speech. So you've just got into an elevator with somebody who's about to potentially fund you, and you have literally 3 minutes to get everything and make them excited as you are for your research.
I think Grad Slam is a great way for graduate students to share their work that is, usually pretty dense or of a certain topic, very specific.
It also helps, encapsulate your research, helps you think about your research and boil it down to the main points.
When you're crafting a 3-minute talk on a very specialized topic to an extremely general audience, you have to look at many, many perspectives. And in that way, I think you can see how what you're doing is really cool. And so Grad Slam is bae.
Something that you may be thinking about is, how are your presentations going to be scored? We will have a guest team of judges that will be scoring the presentations, and they really score them in line with how the Western Association of Graduate Schools, WAGs, that I formerly mentioned, score their competition. So we use their 2 categories, and then we use the different subcategories, and each of them are scored between 0 and 5 points. You can see, I'll just highlight, the background significance, explaining the terminology, again, to a crowd that may not be part of your discipline. Clearly describing the impact and or results, the conclusions, following a clear and logical sequence, language is appropriate to a non-specialist audience, spend adequate time on each element, and did the presentation seem rushed? The second category, engagement and communication, is did the audience want to know more? Was the presenter careful not to trivialize or generalize the research? Did the presenter convey enthusiasm? Did the presenter capture and maintain their audience's attention? What was their stage presence like? What was their confidence stance? And then their PowerPoint. You get one PowerPoint slide to be in the background during your presentation. And so was the images that you used clear? Were they properly sized and concise for one slide? So those are all the areas the judge would be looking at as you're going through your presentation. And they actually will compile those scores right after your presentation. So you'll sort of know where you are at the end of the competition as far as where you are ranked as it applies to the other competitors. So who are the judges? So last year we had J.C. Fickle, a doctoral candidate at the University of Utah, Terry Church, Chief Nursing Officer here at Bakersfield Memorial Hospital, Dr. Aaliyah Kaiser, Dion Danahy, and Mira Sun. Now, we have not finalized our judges for this year's competition, but I just want to give you an idea of what the judges have looked like in the past. There will typically be 5 judges, and usually at the campus Grad Slam, they'll have some affiliation in some way, shape, or form with our campus. So, you know, an outstanding alum, or as you can see there, South Korea's ambassador to Poland, who, you know, retired from here. So there's all these different individuals. How are you honored if you win the competition? First and foremost, if you win the one here on campus, you're going to receive a trophy. You'll also have bragging rights. You'll have the opportunity to compete in the 8th annual, there's a typo there, Regional Grad Slam. This year, and it's to be determined, but as you may know, the travel ban in California was recently lifted. And at the time, the Western Association of Graduate Schools had decided to do a virtual conference in Arizona because of the travel ban, because many of their members, the majority of their members are from California. So there is talks that actually may happen in person now. So the individual who wins the one here on campus, they get to compete in the Western Association of Graduate Schools competition, and you'll go up against competitors from Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, North Dakota, Utah, New Mexico, and other states. That's just some examples from the past. There will also be competitors there from other CSUs and UC campuses from the state of California. At that competition, you actually are awarded money for first place. You get $500, second place, $250, and then the People's Choice is $250 respectively. So the history of Grad Slam here at CSUB is that CSUB campus has hosted 5 CSUB Grad Slams over the years. This will be number 6, with one of those Grad Slams being the 2nd annual CSU 23 campus-wide Grad Slam in 2022. And you can see one of our event brochures there on the slide. Again, I just want to reiterate, normally Grad Slams are held in person. However, the upcoming Grad Slam this year will be via Zoom, as well as of now, the WAGS Grad Slam will be via Zoom, and the CSU 23 campus-wide Grad Slam will be via Zoom. The only one that may change may be that the WAGS Grad Slam that is supposed to be held in Arizona virtually may actually happen in Arizona. And if you win the campus Grad Slam here, we actually pay for you to fly to Arizona, pay for your hotel, food, and your registration to the WAGS conference for you to compete in the WAGS 3-minute thesis or Grad Slam. So how can you apply to participate? First and foremost, are you eligible? You must currently be enrolled in a master's or doctoral program here at CSUB. That's your eligibility requirement. If you meet that, the next step is applying. So you can visit the CSUB Graduate Student Center webpage. You can download the Grad Slam application there. Once you complete the application, you'll want to submit that by, there's a typo there, Friday, November 24th by 12 midnight. At that point, applications will be reviewed by myself and some others, and then all applicants will be notified whether or not their application was approved. And then if it is approved, you have the opportunity, it's not required, but I take that back, it is required. The rehearsal, and this year we're doing it over 2 days, November 28th and 29th, and that's going to be from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. At that rehearsal, myself and several others will be there, graduate program directors, and our job is just to give you feedback on your practice presentation. It's a great opportunity for you to do a dry run of your actual presentation that you want to do for the Grad Slam. And then this year, actually, we're doing something unique. We're going to create a shared doc, and everybody in attendance is going to provide you feedback in the shared doc that only you can access. And we're doing that really simply for time, because there'll be myself and, again, a small group of folks from a subcommittee of the Graduate Studies Committee that will be there to provide feedback. You can take that feedback and then go back to the drawing board and use it for the final competition when you compete. I will say last year, I was amazed by the amount of feedback that was incorporated into the actual presentation that made it to the competition. It was great to see that the folks that participated in the rehearsal really took that feedback to heart and did their best to implement it for the competition. At that point, you'll compete at the CSUB Grad Slam competition. That's going to be on Friday, December 2nd. The exact time is to be announced, and the date may change, but as of right now, that is the date we have in place. So what are some things that you can do to prepare for the Grad Slam? Well, one, you're attending Grad Slam 101 right now, so check that off your list. But coming up, we have Dr. Luis Vega, professor of psychology here at CSUB. He's going to be leading Grad Slam 201, focused on effective presentations. And then we have, that's going to be on November 3rd from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then there's Grad Slam 301, focused on public speaking and delivery. And that's going to be facilitated by Dr. Kelly O'Bannon, who's a professor of communications here at CSUB. A little bit later, and we don't have the exact date and time yet, but there will be a student panel, and it'll be a focus group on graduate student needs. That will be led by Dr. Anna Jacobson. If you check back to the events and workshop page, which you can see that next link there, we'll be updating those dates and those times so you'll know specifically when they're going to be held, and then you can register for those online. There's also the past CSUB Grad Slams that we've had over the years. You can access this on our events and workshops page. You scroll down and you'll see an area there where you can access all the recordings from our past Grad Slams. And I think that's a great opportunity for you to see how one goes live. I highly recommend watching 1 or 2 of those. You can also watch the Western Association of Graduate Schools Grad Slam. And so, again, they call it a 3-minute thesis competition, but it's essentially the same thing. But you can see how that regional competition goes. And then also you can see winning presentations that we have access to. So you can see the presentation given by a student at San Jose State University that won, then also one that was given by a student at Colorado State who won a competition. So you can also not only see the actual competition, but review a few that won to sort of get some ideas for maybe your PowerPoint slide or your delivery and presentation flow, all of those things. So I wanted to share an example of what a presentation slide might look like. You get 1 slide, all right? So this is an example of, you can do whatever you want with the slide, but essentially you get 1 slide and you give your 3-minute presentation. I always remind folks, be thoughtful of what you utilize on your slide. Like, you don't want to have too much information, but you don't want to have too little. You don't want images that are pixelated or blurry. You don't want images that have, sometimes you'll download an image from online and you need to crop it. You need to crop things out that maybe like there's a web page and things like that. So you'll get a lot of that feedback at rehearsal, but as you're starting to think about how you're going to design your 1 slide, those are just some suggestions. Also, make sure you have font, color, and backgrounds that are easily readable. So what you don't want is to have, fonts or backgrounds or images that are hard to see or hard to read or, blend each other out. So those are just some suggestions, and, you'll get more feedback at the rehearsal. So thank you for attending Grad Slam 101. I do want to share that Emma, one of our student assistants here in graduate studies, has competed in the Grad Slam, so she can help answer some questions as well. I facilitate it, be happy to answer questions. Before we open the floor for questions and comments, I just want to reiterate the next Grad Slam presentation will be 201, and that will be on November 3rd. 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. with Dr. Louise Vega. And then the one after that will be on November 17th.
For the viewership for this, is it open, the Zoom, for like students to attend and see this, or is it closed?
Great question. It is open. I know the CSU wide, 23 campus wide, is open to anyone. Yeah, and then of course CSUB is open to anyone as well. So, we get parents that attend, students, grad students, undergrad, doctoral students, faculty members, community members, business owners. A lot of different folks will join and watch the competition.
Emma, how did you prepare for your presentation?
I'm gonna be honest, I with a lot of anxiety. No, I was really anxious, but I prepared just sort of I had my script and I tried my hardest to memorize it, but I don't know, I was too nervous to memorize it, so I did end up reading it off my screen, but I feel like I put a little bit too much like emphasis on memorizing, put a little more emphasis on organizing, like this is what I want to say, this is how I'm going to say it. Almost more like an outline rather than a formal script. I feel like if I had done that, it would have helped me a little bit, but I still feel like I did pretty good, even just reading it off the screen. And I know that the script is super helpful because, again, if you go over 3 minutes, you're, disqualified. But yeah, a lot of my preparation was just sort of going over my script over and over and over again as much as I could to make sure I am familiar with it and I know exactly where every word is. I don't misspeak, I don't forget anything, just making sure of that for the time management.
Thanks for that, Emma. I think that's really helpful for the folks that are going to be doing it for the first time. Emma's being humble, but Emma did really well. In fact, Emma, you finished second?
Yeah.
She finished in second place and would have had the opportunity to compete in the CSU 23 campus because I believe they take the top two. Is that correct, Adrian?
Yes.
Yes. So I should have been a little more clear. If you're the top two finishers on our campus, then you qualify for the CSU 23 campus wide Grad Slam. However, only the first place person gets to go to the WAGS conference.
Hey, yeah, I had one more question. When we looked at the scoring of the presentation, there's not any component of it that scores how well you stick to the script you submit with the application, right?
No, they're not going to have access to that. So yeah, that gives you an idea of some of the things they're going to be looking for. But I think one of the good things about Zoom is, you are looking at a screen. You do have your slide versus maybe if you're in person, that slide may only be on the, on the wall behind you or maybe on the computer in front of you. But, I think that's the nuance of doing it via Zoom is some folks are going to do better via Zoom. Other folks are going to do better in person. And I think that's something that, you'll need to navigate individually and utilize some of the feedback. I will say, while we're talking about it, if you did win our competition and go to the WAGS, those are folks that are involved in graduate studies. So we're talking anything post-baccalaureate all the way through doctoral studies on the western side of the United States. So what's really cool about that competition is, you may be in one of the preliminary rounds, which is breakout rooms around the conference. And they're a little more smaller and, intimate. And, there might be, I don't know, 20, I think, last year it was like 20 to 25 individuals in each of those rooms. And I had the great opportunity to go watch the CSUB participant compete. But then the winners from the preliminary rounds get to go to the ballroom, so to speak. And, there's somewhere between I want to say there was probably 50 to 75 people there for the final competition. So again, that's probably going to be via Zoom. I don't want to promise anybody a trip to Arizona, but this year it's currently virtual, but it may change to where you get to go to Arizona and compete face to face. But, that's the main difference. The WAGs last year, folks on our campus and within the CSU 23 campus competition knew they were going to be competing virtually via Zoom, whereas WAGs, you are now pivoting to a face-to-face presentation using the same slide and script, but just in a different environment. Being able to articulate your research at the graduate and doctoral level to folks that aren't part of your discipline and have no idea or any knowledge in your disciplinary area is a real skill. I love the quote from Albert Einstein: if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And I offer that advice. You want to understand your research so well that you can explain it to somebody in your discipline and switch to that. They call it code switching, but being able to explain it to someone in your discipline who may expect you to know the jargon, right? And the terminology. And they speak on that same wavelength because you're both in the same discipline, and being able to code switch for something like the Grad Slam and say, okay, this is folks that have no idea about my research, the terminology, the jargon that's accompanying my research. How do I capture what it is that I do, again, your research, for an audience like that? And so this is definitely a challenge for some folks where they can really speak well to folks in their discipline, but when they get outside of their discipline, they're talking to folks and it's just that they can't grasp what you're talking about. They just don't have that terminology, that jargon, that disciplinary knowledge to really understand what it is you are iterating. So I think it's important just to be able to code switch and understand, again, that I think the word they use, it's right there, language appropriate to a non-specialist audience. These judges are coming from all over, different backgrounds and disciplines. And so you got to make sure they understand what it is. It's a great networking event. It really is. I would say at the campus level, a little smaller. At WAGs, a little larger than that. But the 23 CSU campus-wide competition, that is a huge networking event for all of you. You're talking all 23 campuses in the CSU system and a handful of people all there to watch those individuals and you compete. I had a great mentor once tell me that you're always interviewing, right? So think about it like that. When it comes to things like this, like a Grad Slam competition, or, you have a conversation with somebody that, may be a great networking opportunity for you, you're always interviewing. And so that's a great way to approach networking, that, you're always thinking about, okay, this person may be a great connection for me in my future aspirations or my career, and communicating and engaging with them accordingly. Again, thank you, and I wish all of you the best of luck if you end up doing Grad Slam, and I look forward to seeing you at rehearsals. Have a good evening.